I'm just going to say a couple more words while we wait, right?
Sure, sure. How many folks have we got on the line so far?
We have 21,
Okay.
and I had about 81 registered. So I'm not sure. Shall we wait a little bit more, or?
Yeah, we'll give everybody else a little bit more time. What time are we looking at here? It's about 2:01. About 30 more seconds. We'll get rolling. So I hope everybody on the line be patient.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere because it gets much better than this. At least I hope.
Can be better than this.
Well, you never know. Some people might say like the black screen was the best part of the entire thing. All right, so I guess let's get going. Rufia, can you see a black screen, right? So
yeah, I can see Kaczynski. I can see black screen.
Okay, good. So then everybody's seeing the right thing. So
you
let's
want
get.
Me to say a couple things?
Yeah. Go ahead. Start us off.
So as I said, my name is Rufia Blanc, and I'm working for Compass International, and we had this idea of webinar together with Eric. At Compass, we helping for more than 70 years or so. We helping companies in international expansion. And we know that here in the United States, this is a big problem and concern for our users. The question is how to expand the distribution of your products into other countries. And you have never tried this before, and you have just started, and this can be pretty tough to do. So we want to help you today to simplify and speed you up in this international quest. So that's why we asked Eric to help us. And he will address one of the first issues you will face in going global, your message to distributors in other countries. So Eric,
I'm here.
See black screen. Ready? Take it away.
All righty. Hello, everybody. Let's start on up now. Or what do I click here? So, I have a couple of questions for you. Have you decided you're ready to sell your products outside the USA? And have you made calls to distributors or buyers in other countries just to have them politely blow you off? Or are you afraid to contact anyone outside the USA because you have no idea what to say to them? Well, if any of these are true for you, or perhaps all of them, it's good news. You are at the right place. My name is Eric Loers. I am the creator of the Guru's Selling System. I'm also the author of the book Be, Do, Sale. And I'd like to welcome you to today's talk, which is 3 steps to design messages that will capture the attention of distributors and buyers in other countries. And I dare you to say that 3 times fast without screwing up. Anyway, I'd like to start off by saying thanks to Compass for sponsoring this event. I'm not sure if anybody else has ever done like an event like this before, so not too much pressure on me, but definitely thank you to Compass for sponsoring this event, and of course a special thank you to Rufia Blanc for helping to set this all up, and also thank you to you. Now, without boring you too much, real quick, I understand that what you're doing right now, maybe you don't even understand it, is you're investing your time. And time really is the one resource, no BS, it's the one resource you cannot make more of. And I know this painfully true because at the ripe old age of 35, at the gym, working out, staying healthy, I had a heart attack. And I learned a lot in the couple days that from the few hours I spent on a cold slab in an operating room and the several days I spent in the hospital after that, and realized the value of time. And I understand how precious a resource it is, and when you're going to invest that resource, it's very important that you invest it where it's going to work the best for you. And you're putting it here today, and I promise my thank you for that, and honoring that investment is to do the best that I can. So over the course of the next half hour, 45 minutes, I'm going to give you as much as I can to help you get launched and get into those international markets with messaging as best as I can. So that's my promise to you and my thank you for you investing your most precious asset, which is your time today. Now, what are we going to be covering today? Well, first off, we're going to identify and isolate the one thing, and this can be different for all of you, but you're going to learn how to identify the one thing that your targeted distributors care about. Number 2, You're going to lead your messages with words that the distributor must pay attention to. So getting their attention, that is key. And third, creating a vision that will tap into the distributor's self-interest as a human being and drive them to action, i.e. action, of course, being please sell my stuff in your country or your area. Now, a little bit about me. Who the heck am I and why should you listen to me? I really have no reason. I'm just kidding. My story is pretty simple. During the 1990s, I spent about 10 years as a manager and a director for several large corporations in and around New York City. In 2000, I set off on my own as a consultant, and I had the consultant success, which is consultant success is you make a lot of money. The price you pay is waking up in hotel rooms every morning, staring at the ceiling, asking yourself first, where am I again, and why am I here again? And taking a couple of minutes and be like, oh yeah, now I remember I'm in Milwaukee to do X, Y, and Z. And it was very nice, and I got tired of that, so I wanted to come off the road, and I did after a couple of years. Started several businesses. Some sucked, some did well. The one that did the best was actually a professional organizing business. Now, for those of you who don't know, professional organizing is organizing people's homes and offices. But in an industry where everybody else was getting $40 an hour to crawl around in people's closets, I was making $400 an hour to coach people by phone. And pretty quickly, I got tired of that as well. So I went out and became a business coach. But my first bunch of clients were, of course, professional organizers who all had the same question: Eric, how do I coach people by phone for $400 an hour so I can stop screwing around in people's closets? So I had a bunch of clients like that for a while. It went well. I expanded out. I got tired of working with just organizers, and my business went down for a bit. And then I tried a whole bunch of stuff, and my business went up, and it went up more, and it went up more. And at some point, I said, great, I've made it. And I was working with people, and I was coaching them on how to develop their businesses, and I said, I have no idea how the hell I made it. I made it by luck and by, I bumble-stumped my way there, and I wanted to make sure that I was being in integrity, and that I was teaching people stuff that I knew would work for them. So I decided to study sales and marketing. And so I went out and spent 2+ years, and now it's been 5+ years that I've been working with the best sales and marketing people that I can find to learn what they do. I work directly with some, but proteges of some. Some I read their stuff. Some I went to their seminars. Some I interviewed. Just tons and tons of people that I've worked with. And I also went one step further, which was I studied their unconscious behaviors. And this is something that's going to become key later on in this webinar, and you'll see why. But as I studied their unconscious behaviors, I did this process called modeling. We learn it in neurolinguistic programming. I was able to put together the pieces that they weren't consciously teaching other people, and that's key. Is that your unconscious is controlling your mind, or controlling what you do a lot more than your conscious mind. So when I was able to take these pieces, these things that they weren't teaching other people, I put those pieces together, and ultimately those pieces became the Guru's selling system. And the Guru's selling system is the technology behind the stuff that you're going to be learning today. So now, how did I learn this? Well, I learned this. Well, I just pushed the button too fast. But anyway, how did I learn this? Well, I learned this through my own stuff, but as an experience, I have been dealing with clients in Europe and Asia for the last several years. And but more specifically to people who are importing, exporting, I had the fortunate luck to work with a company last year in Australia. And they were an importer-exporter out of Australia to the U.S. And they wanted to expand. They wanted to expand into Europe. They wanted to expand into Asia. They've been trying stuff. It hadn't been working. And they had good stuff. They had fashion. It was all fashion and beauty items. But they kept making the calls, and nobody would listen to them. They'd say, yeah, you and everybody else. So by utilizing some of the strategies I'm going to be teaching you today, though, what we were able to do for them was able to create a message and also a position, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what a position is later, that allowed them to move quickly into these new markets, and they've been having quite a bit of success now with this new position. But I also, again, learned from my own experience, because I used to put out messages that said, I did the same old things. I put out messages that said what I did, and no one cared. Then I watched, again, I always go back to my mentors. I watched and I learned from my mentors, and I started putting out messages that had nothing to do with what I cared about, but that tapped into the pains and desires of my target market, and that's how my business took off. And getting the attention and the interest of the right people has been my golden goose, and it's going to do the same for you, and we're going to show you how to apply that in this webinar. Okay. So issue number one, what do we want to talk about first here? Well, first we want to talk about reaching out. I love that picture. I always use this picture. I apologize if you find it offending. But first is, what do? We reach out to foreign distributors, and how do we do that? And how do we end up with our head in the wrong orifice all the time when we're doing that? Well, first we get a list of distributors in the country we are looking to get into. Then, of course, we call them. And we tell them what we make and what we sell. We ask if they want to sell it, and then they say no, or if they're not that rude, they say something like, they'll give you the polite maybe, or what is your website so I can check out your stuff, or send me a proposal, or send me a brochure, blah 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 blah, and then we hound them to no avail. Or even worse, we just never hear anything back from them. And this is normally what we do, but there's some problems here. So what are the problems you're not aware of? Well, first off, you're wasting your time, because if they're not responding to your message, then that's it. So every time you're calling them, all you're doing is pushing a dead message. Secondly, you're annoying them, because if you're calling people, think about it, so it doesn't even have to be business. If you're just calling somebody who doesn't want to hear from you, or somebody's calling you who you don't want to hear from, you get annoyed. And if you're annoying them, you're building we'll call it bad karma, but bad will with them. And so ultimately, you're burning a bridge, so that even if you come up with something fantastic later on down the road, they don't care. Why? Because you already annoyed the crap out of them. So they already have this bad opinion of you. Now, why do we do this? Well, first off, we do this simply because we don't know any better. But more importantly, as a business owner, obviously you have clients and prospects that you deal with already. And here's the big mistake that everybody tends to make, which is you think a distributor is unlike a prospect or unlike a client for your product or service. You think that this is a completely different system. Well, selling to the people in the street, that's one thing, but distributor, I've got to sell to them. That's completely. They're not prospects. They're not. The fact of the matter is they are mega prospects. They are just like the people you sell your product or service to, except that instead of selling one widget now, you are selling the construct or the idea, the plan of working with you, selling your products or services. So not only are they a prospect, they are the ultimate prospect. They are a mega prospect. But there's a bigger problem here, or the biggest problem of all, which is, as far as the distributor is concerned, when you call them, please sell my stuff, you are like every other company from every other country that calls them and wants them to sell their stuff. So you are leading with your wants instead of their wants. So hear me out again. This is very important. You are leading with your want instead of their want. And they don't care what you want. So what's the solution? Well, there's several parts. We'll be going over the rest of the parts later on. But part one of the solution is research. In terms of, you must research the market. Your market, and your target market right now is distributors in whatever country, whatever area. That's your target market, just like you would in regular sales, regular marketing. You must research the market to learn what it wants. So how do we do this? Well, first off, select a country or a region. Select a country or a region that you want to go into. However, I want you to do some thinking before you choose the country and the region you want to go into. Because a lot of people just say, yeah, I'll sell it anywhere. If that's true, then you haven't really strategically thought out where you want to go and how you want to expand. So if you don't have an expansion plan, you really shouldn't be going anywhere. You should have a strategic reason. Why am I going to go? Let's say I'm going to go into Mexico. Great. Why are you going to go to Mexico? Are you sure there's a market for your stuff in Mexico, etc.? So before going in, you want to do some thinking and know what country and what region you want to go into first. After you've done that, you want to call about a dozen distributors in an area. And so again, this is about not calling, let's say again, Mexico. Instead of saying, look, I'm going to call all over Mexico, people in northern Mexico, central Mexico, and south Mexico may have completely different needs. So you have to say, look, what region do I want to go into first? And then call about a dozen distributors in that area that you want to expand into. And then you want to interview them. And interviewing, and how you do an interview, I mean, that's, again, a longer process. That's a whole nother webinar in and of itself. Hopefully you have some skill at that. Anyway, the point being that you want to interview them. You can do this through a formal interview. You can do it through a get-to-know-you. You know, there's different ways to interview people. But you want to interview them and learn what they look for in new product lines. Again, you want to get to know them and then start learning about what they are looking for in new product lines. And how they look for it. You know, how do they make that decision of what they're looking for, and why? What's driving them to choose what they choose, how they choose, what they choose? And then at that point in time, you will then have what they want. And the benefits that come out of this, of utilizing this strategy, are, first off, again, you know what they want. That's key, because if they say, look, all I want to do is sell wooden figurines. That's what I've been doing, that's all I want to do, and I have no other desires than that, and you sell copper widgets, it's never going to work. So you have to know what they want, and that you're not just calling blind. Secondly, you know what they are looking for now. You know what they look for, not only what they're looking for, but what they look for in what they look for. So they may want copper widgets, but they may have certain desires. That has to be a certain strength, a certain thickness, whatever. You're going to know what they're looking for in what they look for. You know how they look for it and how they decide on it. So maybe they need product up front to be able to analyze it. Maybe they need to test it. You will now know that. How do they do this? And you haven't wasted your time or burnt a bridge. Because again, you're calling somebody. This is off topic a little bit, but real quick, when you call that person, you interview them, you get to know them. You potentially have a friend, but you haven't. But as long as you haven't pushed them on, please buy my product, please buy my product, I sell this product, I want to talk to you about my product, and you simply talk to them about their desires, their wants, their needs, they're going to find you interesting, and they're going to be grateful for that time. Everybody else who calls them says, sell my stuff. So there you go. That's one tactic to do that. Now, how do you know if this works? Well, again, I referred to you to the company that I worked with in Australia. And the company that I worked with out of Australia, what happened was we researched possible distributors. We started in Asia, and that's actually where they're expanding right now. We researched possible distributors, and we found what the distributors wanted was products that would basically virtually sell themselves. So from that, we were able to determine what they were actually selling. What my clients were selling wasn't the products or services that they were, the products that they were exporting. What they were selling was basically guaranteed revenue streams. Therefore, from that, we were able to develop their position. And a position is basically your unique take on a marketplace, your unique perspective on a marketplace. What you call yourself, how you address the marketplace. And we developed the position of them being international product talent scouts. Just like a regular talent scout who has to go out there, has to find the next, Mariah Carey or the next Derek Jeter. There's talent scouts out there. These people, my clients, were serving that purpose. They were out there. They were the ones vetting the products, because they weren't manufacturing. They were just importers, exporters. They were vetting the products and then being able to go to distributors and say, look, I've vetted this product and its potential and sales, etc. And they were talent scouts. That's what it was. Boom. As they led with that, far more interest. Instead of saying, we sell, we distribute and sell X, Y, and Z, they were able to say, we are international product talent scouts, build up a story, boom, and they've been running with it ever since. So now, issue number 2. And hope I'm not going too fast for everybody here. If I am, at the end, I'll show you how to get in touch with me. You can send me questions, whatever. Actually, we're going to have a Q&A at the end, so you can ask me questions if I'm going too fast for you. Now, issue number 2 is deciding on a message to lead with. Because, it's great and wonderful to have interviewed a few people, but when you're going out there, when you're going to be putting a message out there regularly, and you're going to be putting it out there, and not just in phone calls, but in auspicious places on the internet, etc., where they can find it, you have to be leading with a message. So now, what do we normally do? Here's my friend leaning against the wall. Well, first off, we tell people what we sell. We wait for them to be interested. We get annoyed when they don't respond. But since we don't know what else to do, we do it again and expect a different result. And as Benjamin Franklin said, that insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that's, unfortunately, that's what normally we're all doing, and in all our marketing messaging to whoever our market might be, in this case for you guys, distributors. Now, what's the problem you're not aware of? Well, it's basically the same as before, which is you're saying what you think is valuable versus what the prospective distributor cares about. And again, they don't care about you, they only care about themselves. And every time I look at this picture, I really hope it's not real. But it certainly looks real. They did some good photoshopping if it's not. Anyway, why do you do this? Well, simple. You didn't know any better until now. So what is the real problem, though? Well, the real problem is it breaks down into two words: language and resonance. See, when you speak from your perspective, you use your own language, your words, your thoughts, your feelings, your take on everything. Me, 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 me. And when you're speaking from your own language and your own perspectives, that resonates with you. And all of your language, and I don't want to go deep into NLP or psychology right now, but basically your language is your way of you explaining your reality. So your language resonates with you, but it does not resonate with other people, and more importantly, it doesn't resonate with them subconsciously. And again, subconsciously is what we're really looking for here. As I said earlier, we want to go to an unconscious level, because subconsciously is where all true interest comes from. Ultimately, we act based on our subconscious, not on our conscious minds. And 99% of our lives are lived through unconscious activities and responses. So you got up this morning, you got out of bed, you brushed your teeth, you probably don't remember it. Think back. You're like, yeah, why? Because you did it all unconsciously. It's just programmed in there. You ever drive, you get in your car, you drive to work, and an hour later you're sitting there and you're thinking, like, I don't remember driving to work? Yeah, but you did. You got there safely. Why? Because you did it unconsciously. So if you're going to be communicating with other people, do you want to be trying to communicate to the 1% of their attention, which is their conscious mind, or do you really want to use language and resonate with the 99% of their brain, that is their unconscious mind, which is making all the decisions here? So what is the solution? Well, use the language in their head. So how do we use language in their head? Well, from the interviews that you have done, and again, remember, you were supposed to start with interviews, and hopefully you recorded those interviews, and hopefully you took copious notes. You extract the words and phrases that you heard repeatedly. Now, this is you use the language and phrases, the words and phrases that you heard repeatedly across the dozen or so people that you interviewed, because that's telling you what those folks in that area who have those kind of distributorships are looking for and want. And then you can start utilizing that in your messaging, your general messaging to that marketplace. Or if you have one specific person, so let's say you did an interview with John Doe, and John Doe was the guy that you want, you start using that specific languaging in the messaging. If you're going to be reaching out directly to John Doe, that's the kind of language you're going to use. You're going to use his language back to him. So in your messaging, you use the words and phrases to get their attention and describe dealing with you. So this is getting their attention, getting them interested, and again, because you're talking to their unconscious mind, their subconscious mind. So if you're using, and it has nothing to do with your skill level, it has nothing to do with what you sell, it's their language. So if they keep saying bubblegum and chocolate chips, I'm going to say bubblegum and chocolate chips about selling my widgets, and they're going to pay attention. Now, it sounds insane, but basically that's how it works. So if they say, look, I need to sell widgets to buy myself bubblegum and chocolate chips, you say, great. We're all about, in our widgets, we want to help all of our distributors buy more bubblegum and chocolate chips. They're going to listen to you. And that's the way that this works. Now, what are the benefits to you? Well, first off, they will unconsciously notice your message, which means they must pay attention. Why? Because it's their language. You ever notice when somebody calls your name, your first name, hey, Steve, and you turn around, there's 4 other Steves in the room, but it's your name. If somebody calls, hey, Charlie, and your name's Steve, you don't turn around. But you're so used to your name that when somebody says it, heck, I was out with my kids yesterday at some playground thing, and the mother kept calling Eric, and it was her child, little boy running around. But every time I heard her call it, I kept having to look over just in case it was me she was talking to. It got my unconscious. It's like when she finally left, I was thankful because I'm like, oh, thank God, stop calling my name. So unconsciously, we have to pay attention to these things. And your wording will be easily accepted by them because it is their language. And objections, which are simply their mind trying to make sense of your words. And if you've ever had a conversation, I tell people the length of your sales cycle is equal to the amount of time it takes your sense of reality and my sense of reality to become one. That's what objections are. Is basically you say some words and my brain tries to make sense of your words. That's what an objection is. Because you're using my words, if you use my words, the objections I'm going to have to you are going to either be eliminated or highly minimized because you're speaking, quote unquote, you're speaking my language. And they'll take you as seriously as they take themselves. And this is very important as well because if they you want these prospects to take you seriously because you're somebody calling them out of the blue. But if you are utilizing their language, and this is how they think inside themselves, and they take themselves seriously. We all take ourselves seriously, more seriously than any other human being. They take themselves seriously. They're going to take you as seriously as they take themselves because you are literally mirroring their reality to them. So, does this work? Well, before the way I learned this is I tested it on a webinar. And before that webinar, what I did was I checked out the emails of the people who registered. And I visited a few websites, and I visited a few of their websites, and I took one of the attendees' websites and used some of the exact phrases they used on their site as examples of poor marketing descriptions. But I removed any identifying names, etc., from the descriptions. But I built those into my webinar as examples of bad marketing. And literally, less than 30 seconds after that webinar was over, I had the person whose website I had used as the example, whose terminology I had taken from their website. That person had sent me an email, even though I didn't name their company by name or anything. That person sent me an email asking me to call them to discuss their marketing lead generation. And ultimately, I was pushed up through the president and ended up doing some work with them. So again, this works all the time. So right now, real quick, let's take a little break. I know Rufia wants to come back on the line, and so break the flow here a little bit. Let's come back on the line and tell you a little bit more about Compass. So Rufia, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued. I like everything you're saying. I hope our audience like it too. So I can't wait to other parts. But in the meantime, I'm just going to talk a little bit about why we're working with Eric, because what Eric teaching you or sharing with you here, we have technical support to all that. We have a platform which helping you to go and look for with distributors if you're going online. And actually, Compass doing it for more than 70 years. And we have a presence in 64 countries. And if you, Eric, if you can go to the next slide. And we're covering all the continents. And we have colleagues, we have official offices I can call any of 64 countries anytime I want, even 5 o'clock in the morning, they're going to respond to me. And we're working in connection, we're working together. And we're building the data, we're supporting the data, and of course we have sales offices there. So this system was created to help you to go international. And of course when it was no internet, it was books. Today is everything online, available for you 24/7. And here in United States, we're responsible to help you. So feel free to contact us. We'll be happy to do what I'm going to show you in the next slide. Eric, if you can move. I just couple statistics. No, if you can go back, sorry. A couple statistics before what kind of information you're going to have. You're going to have about 3.3 million companies in our data, which covers all 64 countries. We have about 7.7 million executive names. We have trade names. This is unique for Compass. For example, if you're looking for distributors in Canada or United States by specific trade name, let's say you're looking for Hitachi or Simpson or anything, any trade name you know, but you're not sure if they distribute here, you can search by this trade name on Compass and you will find it. We also have unique classification system. It's a big number for 58,000 products and services. Why do we need so many? Because we're going from very, very general search to very specific product. And if you have very specific product and you're looking for distributors for this product or for manufacturers or for service providers, you can do search by Compass classification code. So now, Eric, if we can move to the next slide. Now I'm ready. I'm going to show you example of one of the real example of our customer who represent manufacturing company in the United States for food and cosmetics ingredients. And he was looking for suppliers and customers in the cosmetic industry, and he was interested worldwide. So what can you do with our system? You can do search, and we're teaching you how to do it technically for 5-10 minutes. You will have results. And by using Compass, you can search for manufacturers, you can search for service providers, you can search for distributors. And you can go to all countries where Compass is present. So if we can go to the next slide, we will see the results. So this search technically took me about 5 minutes. Of course, you will say, you know how to use the system. Yes, I do, but this is our idea. We are here for you to help you to also be able to do your searches very quick. Even we have about 100 criteria. So we helping you to analyze it and know where to go and quickly have very targeted lists. So what I did here, I searched by keyword, I put cosmetics, and I picked all the codes related to my search. I also wanted only company with email addresses, so I added email address as the search criteria. I also was interested in specific executives, so I put only general managers. Depending what are you looking for. You can search for production manager, or you can search for R&D, or for technical people. You can do that. You have this ability to do that on Compass. And what is very important, you can also have nominative emails in specific countries. So it took me 5-10 minutes. I have, of course, here very large results. You have about more than 6,000 companies. If you, as Eric was giving examples, searching in specific countries like Australia, of course, search results are going to be much lower. So you will have your list in 5-10 minutes. How to do that? Eric, if you can go to the next slide. You have to call us, and we will help you to do that. We're available for you, and I'm done here, Eric.
Okay. So let's keep rolling then. And thank you, Rufia, for jumping in and put that out. Give me a chance to get a glass of water. Anyway, let's keep rolling. Let's go on to our third part here. So issue number 3. The big piece, compelling a distributor to work with us. I mean, because at the end of the day, you can call 1,000 of them, but what do you want? You want them to work with you, right? Now, so here's our no button, or the distributor's no button. So now when we're trying to compel the distributor to work with us, what happens? Well, we tell the distributor again what we sell. We go through the same old steps. We ask if they want to sell it. Now, here's the key thing. Even if we have used language and resonance to capture their attention, that does not mean that they will say yes to working with us. It just means we've gotten their attention. So, what are the problems we're not aware of right now? Well, first off, the distributor has long-term desires. So that's why they started their business. Their not thinking short-term. They are thinking long-term. They started a company. They have long-term plans. And just because your product might make quote-unquote logical sense doesn't, to distribute or sell, that doesn't mean that they will take it. It just simply means that it made, that you think it makes logical sense. They might even agree. They might say, yes, it makes sense. But again, that does not mean, and we've all been in that situation where somebody says, yes, I can see how that works, I can see why that makes sense, et cetera, et cetera. But that never translates, that never guarantees a translation into buying from you, dealing with you, et cetera. So what is the real problem? The real problem is you are stopping at this moment and not getting into the long term with them. So that means that you are momentary, i.e. right now only, which means that you're describing right now, you have the opportunity to distribute my widgets, to sell my widgets. So it's right now. You're saying, right now, here, this thing, boom, boom, boom. That's just this moment. But they may or may not connect your product in this moment to their long-term benefit, which is their main desire and has been their main desire all along. So what's the answer? Well, the answer is simple. You create a vision that taps into their long-term desire. So you create a vision of working with you that connects with and fulfills their long-term desire. Now, how do we do this? Well, again, first off, we capture their attention with language, so we connect with them as a human being. But do not go for a yes, or do not go for the sell my stuff, or please consider my stuff, or you should take my stuff. Don't go for that too quickly. Don't get on the phone and think you're going to get off in 5 minutes and either, my desire is a 3-minute phone call for them to either make a decision or, or get off the pot. That's not going to work. That's not how human beings work ultimately, because again, to work with you, they have to there's a lot more. It's not just distributing your stuff. They're putting a lot more of themselves on the line as well. There's a risk for them. So instead, you want to build rapport with these folks, because you have to feel comfortable that they will do the best they can for your product. And the only way that they're going to do the best they can for your product is if they feel connected to you, to a human being. So they feel connected to you, and that's how they'll feel connected to the product that you are going to be supplying to them. So there's a lot more. It's not just the quality of the product, how easily can you send more to them, speed of payment. That's all well, nice and good. That's all window dressing. It is ultimately, like in any other high-end sale, big ticket sale, it is about connection, about the connection of human beings. So you want to find out, you want to get, again, building rapport, get to know them as a human being, get familiar with them, get comfortable with them, find out what their long-term vision for their business is. Now, in case you're thinking, great, I'll call them up and within 2 minutes I'll say, great, what's your long-term vision? No, that's not how it works. Remember, rapport is the big thing. So rapport, if you remember no other word, remember this word. Build rapport with them. Get to know them, feel comfortable with them. Then you find out what their long-term vision is. Now, in case they say, well, why is that important, whatever, you can say, and I put these kind of, I say these things to prospects when I'm talking with them on the phone. But you can say, look, I'm really only about working with companies or dealing with distributors who are in it for the long term and have a plan, have a desire, have goals. I don't want to start working with some distributor who's going to close up shop in 6 months or sell out to somebody else, and then I'm having to renegotiate and all that other kind of stuff. So that's why I need to know. And in case they need an example, simply offer yours as an example. Here's the long-term goal for me, my company, why I'm doing what I'm doing, etc. Here's my vision for where I'm going in the future. Now, whatever, and this is where it gets interesting, whatever their vision is, expand it beyond what they were seeing. So this is where you really have to drop into or utilize what we call, the consultative or the pioneering, pathfinding, creative mind, because you want to get into what their vision for their company is and expand it beyond what they are seeing. Because yes, you'll need to be creative and truly interested in them and their needs. So again, this is why rapport is really important. You get to know them. You get to know them as a person. You get to know their dreams, etc. And you can start to really understand their dreams. The same thing you have with your friends. Now, your friends may, you may have a friend whose dream is to be a baseball player. It has nothing to do with you, your business, but you can understand it. Why? Because you've talked to them so much. They've given you so much insight into baseball, etc., that you're able to say, okay, if you really want it, then here's what you should be doing, or here's my ideas. Here's what else you could do. And we've all done this. We've all given people advice on their lives. It's the same thing here, except that now we're not just saying, okay, your desire is to create, $10 million of income. It's like, why do you want that $10 million? What if we can show you how utilizing our products, our services is going to help? I can see how you could do that. And so utilizing some of our products and some of other people's products and doing this and doing that, blah, blah, blah. And now you're connecting with them. You're connecting with their future. They're seeing it, and they're getting excited. So what are the benefits, the immediate benefits of this? Well, first off, you are talking straight to their inner desires. Those things that actually make them make decisions like working with you. The things that really matter to them and not just a bunch of factoids. That's what you're speaking to here. And they now see you in their future. Why? Because if you're talking about, well, you're going to start selling our stuff, and you're going to expand in this, and then you're going to have more need for that, so you can bring in other vendors who sell this, and distributors or suppliers who sell that, and you're putting yourself into their future. And if that vision is exciting, they will not want to let it go. Because, tons of people can give you advice about your future. I'm sure you've had your family give you tons of useful, quote-unquote, advice about your future that bored the crap out of you. So it wasn't exciting. You didn't hold on to that vision. You just let it go. Why? Because your vision, or the vision that you kept developing as you went forward, that was what was most important to you. And you don't want to let go of what's most important to you. And ultimately, you're going to speed up the decision cycle. Because again, the amount of time that a sales cycle, a decision cycle takes is the amount of time it takes for my reality and your reality to become one, for us to be able to see mutually the same reality. So when you go into their future and start describing their future and start making it better, they're going to want to go to that future faster rather than trying to understand why they should buy from you. So now, does this work? Well, this is something that I had known and have been working with my own clients for years, but my buddies recently wrote a book called The Challenger Sale, and I recommend you pick that up, The Challenger Sale. And in this, they studied 5 different types of salespeople. So the first was the hard worker, the relationship builder, the lone wolf, the reactive problem solver, and the challenger salesperson. Now, a challenger salesperson, one of the 5 types of salespeople, the challenger salesperson is the person who challenges the limitations of the client. So if the client says, we want to do $10 million a year, or we want to grow by 20% a year, the challenger salesperson will be, well, that's nice. What about growing by 200% a year? What's stopping you from doing that? Automatically starts challenging the reality, the status quo, the limitation thinking, the comfort zone of the prospect. And whatever that being the prospect, had planned, the challenger salesperson will basically expand on it to the point beyond the current comfort zone and into the desire zone, into the uncontrollable desire zone of the prospect, to the point where the client is excited and jumps on the opportunity to buy from them. So the challenger salespeople that have been studied outsold all the other types of salespeople by 3 to 4 times, by 300 to 400%. Not by being polite, not by giving the prospect of the client what they were expecting or thought they should get, but instead going in and literally challenging their reality, challenging what they thought they wanted. And that closed 3 to 4 times more sales, and always with higher profit margins. And it's the same thing we here in the Guru Selling System, my system, we call it the undiscovered country, but it's the same premise. So again, challenging. Ultimately, if you want to compel distributors to work with you, you have to challenge what they're focused on right now, or what they believe they're capable of, because you become somebody exciting. Now, you can go the old path and say, look, here's my numbers, here's my stats, blah, blah, blah. they may or may not make the decision. But if you want to compel them, you want to talk to them, you want to compel them as a human being and really get them excited about working with you, you want to use this process of challenging, getting into their future and challenging what they thought, and then building a bigger, better future with them. So I want to tell you a little bit real quick about how you guys, if you're interested in being able to go beyond what we've talked about today and get more out of it, absolutely free. Here's what I want to offer you guys, absolutely free. It's called a Foreign Distributor Message Assessment. Believe it or not, I just made it up for you guys, since this is not what I've been normally doing. But I've put this together based on the work that I've done and what I've shown you here already. And basically, what it is, it's a one-on-one session between you and I. And what we're going to do is I'm going to review with you your current messages that you're putting out there to help you pinpoint the parts that need to be changed so that you can connect. And here's what we're going to be able to do is you're going to solidly connect with at least 3 distributors in the next 30 days. Or if you don't have a message, you're not putting a message out there right now, I'm going to give you a strategy so that you can develop a message to go out there with. Now, why do you want it? Well, very simple. What would 3 solid connections with foreign distributors be worth to you? So even if one of them says yes, and it's worth $1 million in sales for the year, boom, there's what it's worth. But here's more important. You can keep using the tactics that I'm going to show you over and over and over again. So it's worth that times however many times you use the tactics. That's what the session is worth, and again, it's absolutely free to you. So if you want to utilize it, go on over to guruselling.com, and I know you can't see it there, but it's FDMA as in Alice, so Frank, David, Michael, Alice. So guruselling.com/FDMA. And why do we do this? I'll be honest. We usually use these kind of sessions to qualify potential clients, and what we want to do is basically prove to you that the Guru Selling System is far more effective than whatever strategy or system you're using right now. And in case you have any concerns, no obligation beyond the session. It's simply a way for you to get solidly connected with 3 distributors over the next 30 days. And there's no pushing and no hard selling. So again, if you want it, guruselling.com/FDMA. By the way, I'm going to put a limitation on this. Literally only 3 people. I apologize. But the reason I'm going to limit it is this. I'm swamped. And I'll be honest, Rufia and I started setting this up like 3 months ago to do this webinar. I have become swamped with client work and other projects I'm working on and a new business I'm starting with two partners. So I usually give away like 15 or 20 sessions. I just don't have the time to do them, but I want to give away a couple. So if you guys are really interested, whoever's hardcore interested, go on over, sign up now, and you can utilize the session. Anyway, if you have any other questions for me, there's going to be a Q&A in a second, but you can contact us, info@guruselling.com if you want to email us or call us at 973-551-9220 in the United States. Anyway, thank you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in there now. Type away, I guess, over here in the session. Rufia, on the line?
Yes, I'm here. I don't see any questions, so I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you, Eric, for doing this wonderful webinar. I think it's very helpful. I wanted to ask everybody, if you're interested, hurry up and contact Eric, because I know how busy he is, and that's true. We started to prepare this webinar many months ago, and we just found the time in this wonderful day of spring.
I know, second day of spring.
Yeah, very nice. Outside is very nice. I put some very nice picture today on our company Facebook. So we waiting for your questions. You can email it to us. Questions regarding Compass, you can email it to me, and questions to Eric, you can email to Eric. And maybe you have some different topics for us for our next webinar. I'm hoping even Eric is so busy, we can do more, right? Maybe it's going to take 3 more months.
Yeah, at least with what I got.
Yeah. But I'm hoping to do more webinars because I think it's very effective to do it. And if any questions or any feedback, please send us by email or call us. We are happy to answer any questions. And thank you very much to all. I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. Thank you, Eric. And
all right, Rufia, thank you, and thank you to everybody for showing up today again. Any questions, about Compass, feel free to contact Rufia, and if you have any questions about, my content from today, feel free to contact me.
And we're definitely going to have recordings. I'm just have to figure out how we're going to post it, right? We're going to have recording of this webinar.
Yes, and I'm sure, I'm sure you'll get it out ASAP, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everybody.